In this video, you will learn how to solve different problems where you are given that a number is a certain percent of some unknown value, and you are to find that unknown value. Now, the simplest way to do this is to take a given statement and to translate it into an equation. When you do this, you can realize that the word of can be translated as multiply, and the word is can be translated as equals. So if we were to ask, 22 is 30% of what number? To find that number, we can translate this into an equation. So you just take this word by word. You have 22 would be translated as 22. Is would be equals. 30% as a decimal, move the decimal point over 2 places and you get 0.30 or 0.3, same thing. Of means multiply, so multiply. And then when it says what number, this is unknown. And we can use a variable to represent that unknown number. You can use any letter you want. Here in this lesson, we'll use the letter X. So we translated this statement into an equation. 22 equals 0.30 times X. And we see that typed up right here. Now to solve this, all we do is we just get rid of the 0.30 with the X by dividing both sides by the 0.30. Right, we do that because 0.30 is being multiplied by X. So to bring it over, we do the inverse, which is divide. So we divide. Now we have X on the right side equals 22 divided by 0.30 on the left. So X would equal 22 divided by 0.30. Now to do that, 0.30, keep in mind, is the same thing as just 0.3. So we have 22 divided by 0.3, but we can't divide when the divisor has a decimal in it. So if you're doing this by hand, you want to get rid of the decimal in the bottom. And to do that, you can multiply top and bottom by 10 to get 220 on the top. And then when you multiply the bottom by 10, the decimal point moves over one place to get 3. So this problem comes down to 220 divided by 3. So doing this by hand, 3 goes into 22 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract, we get 1. Bring down the 0 and repeat. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, and we get 1. We could write this as a fraction. We have 1 over the 3. So we have 73 and 1/3. And then as a decimal, if you want to write that, keep in mind 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. So if you round that, you're going to get approximately 73.3. So either way you want to write that, that would be your solution. So that's pretty much the entire concept of this lesson. We'll look at a couple more examples just to solidify what we just did. So example 2, again, of means multiply and is means equals. And if I were to ask you, 12 is 9% of what number? If you can, try to do this on your own. So you can pause the video if you need. Once you have tried this, you can now follow my explanation. So here we can translate into an equation. 12 is 12, is equals. 9% as a decimal. The decimal point moves over 2 places. That gives you 0.09. Of means multiply. And then what number that is unknown, we'll call that X. So this is our equation that we solve. So to solve this, we get rid of the 0.09 that's being multiplied, and we do that by doing the inverse, which is divide. So we divide 12 by 0.09, so we have X equals 12 divided by 0.09. So doing this by hand, our decimal point, we need to go over 2 places on the top and the bottom to make this not a decimal anymore in the bottom. So that would become a 9. And then 12, move the decimal point 2 places over. That gives you 1200. So what we have is 1200 divided by 9 equals X. So doing this by hand, we would have to divide. 9 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 9 is 9. Subtract, and we get 3. Bring down the 0 and repeat. 9 goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 9 is 27. Subtract, and we get 3. Bring down the 0 and repeat again. 9 goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 9 is 27. Subtract, and we get 3. Notice this would keep going. If we had a decimal point and a 0, we keep getting 30, which means we're going to keep getting 3's up here. So we can just round that. Let's just round to the nearest tenth. We have 133.3. So our solution is that 12 is 9% of the number 133 and 1/3, or 133.3. Here is one last example, and in this example we are dealing with a word problem. So here we are told that Susie bought a shirt for $20, and this is 40% of her savings. And the question is, how much money did she start with? Now, when you're dealing with word problems like this, it's always helpful, in my opinion, if you can summarize this question into one statement. And if you can write this as a statement like you did in the other two examples, we can then translate into an equation. What I mean by that is, in the previous examples, we saw that we had questions like, 20 is 9% of what number? Or 4 is 15% of what number? Something like that. So if we can get it into a statement like that, we can translate into an equation. So here, this problem can be summarized as follows. We can say that $20 is 40% of some number. So $20 is 40% of what number? So this question can be summarized with this one statement. Once you have the statement, it's very simple, or simpler, to convert to an equation. We just take it word by word. 20 is 20, is equals, 40% as a decimal is 0.4, of means multiply, and then what number, that is unknown, we'll call that x. So we'll give it a variable, call it x. So now we have our equation that we can solve. So to solve this one, we just get rid of the 0.40. The 0.40 is being multiplied, so to get rid of it, we can divide both sides by 0.40. So the 0.40's cancel. We have x equals 20 divided by 0.40. And to do that, to divide, we want to get rid of the decimal. 0.40 is the same thing as 0.4, by the way. And then to get rid of the decimal in the bottom, we can multiply top and bottom by 10, or in other words, move the decimal point over one place on the top and bottom. That gives you 200 on the top and 4 on the bottom. 200 divided by 4, we can do that pretty quick, because 20 divided by 4 is 5, and then just add a 0 at the end to get 50. So your solution is 50. So 20 is 40% of 50. And in other words, as well, looking back at the original question, she started with $50, and the $20 she spent was 40% of that $50. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.